Take a deep breath. Look at the people. See who I know. Amazing. Because you are what makes this TEDx a TEDx. You're being here, you're listening to us. You're the important ones in the whole process. So it is nice to be here. Thank you for asking, although there were a couple of days I wasn't thanking so much. But when I'm done, I'll be thanking you for this. I want to talk about one of my favorite topics, a little bit about human doings and human beings, and the hope that we can maybe combine the two. We're really, really good at doing. We can do. And sometimes we get stuck in the do-dos. And we can measure doingness. We can make a list. We can put the things on the list that we want to do. We can do them. Check, that's done. Check, that's done. Check. At the end of the day, we can look at that list and we can go, oh, I've had a good day. Why do I feel like this? Oh, maybe I need to learn to multitask. Then I can be a multitasking super duper human doing. Maybe that'll bring what I need it to bring. And it doesn't. Well, okay, maybe my problem is in my attitude. Let's look at the proverbial half full, half empty glass. How do I see the glass? Do I see the glass today as half full? Do I see the glass today as half empty? Oh my goodness, I can be an optimistic, superhuman doing. Maybe some days I'm a pessimistic, superhuman doing. Let's take another look at the glass. The glass truly, truly is full. And Greg just talked about air and the power of air. And the top half of our glass is full of air. And even if that bottom half was the most expensive vodka you could ever find, that you could use at the end of your superhuman doingness days to counteract the doingness, it's not nearly as precious as what's in the top half of the glass to us. What's in the top half of the glass, we need far more than any amount of vodka we could ever find or buy or purchase or work for or whatever it is we're going to do. Most people assume that's water. I'm just going a little bit on a doingness day. So I want to talk about that top half, and I want to say that top half is a lot like human beingness. Our beingness is pretty hard to measure sometimes. Our beingness, we can't really put it on a list. What is our beingness? Where does it come from? How do we access it? How do we use it? Well, a couple of stories in my life talk about beingness. My grandmother loved all of us grandkids. She just adored us. And, sometimes we were tough to adore, really, truly. When we chased Sycamore until he was like, hard to love us, but she did anyway. And when she made us our favorite dishes, and we ate our favorite dishes, there was a taste in there that can't be repeated. When we were at Grandma's house, we could have chocolate chip cookies and Kool-Aid for breakfast. Chocolate chip cookies and Kool-Aid don't taste anything like they did at Grandma's house when you were staying there. And we'd go at Christmas and we'd go out to the pantry, which was cool, and we'd look around and here's a plethora of Norwegian dishes. And even now, when I talk to the cousins, we all just kind of smile at, yeah, that was Grandma's. And I have some of her recipes, and I've never made them like she did, ever. And I've tried. I've put it on the list. I've checked it off. But I think what my grandmother put in her dishes was her beingness. I think when she was making all those Norwegian delicacies, I think a couple of things were going on in her mind. I think she was going back to Norway where she lived until she was 18. The courage to come here. I think she also thought of everybody who was going to come and eat those dishes that she made, eat those products of her love and her caring. To me, that's one aspect of beingness. Another friend I have taught me such lessons. Oh, my goodness. His name is Tyler, and he was a dual enrolled student. He was a high school student at the time that he came here. And being a high school student, in fact, some people who come here second semester and just take gen eds, you kind of have to find your place and your way. And so when I knew that Tyler was a high school student, I thought, I need to know him. I need to know what makes him tick. I need to help him fit with this. And so I would talk with him after school, after class, because I wouldn't see him around campus. And we talked about things that Tyler loved, and Tyler was passionate about Angus. And I learned about Agnes too. I learned about Angus. Wow, I started looking for Angus as I was driving down the roads, and especially in the Castlewood area, I'd say, well, I saw this herd, and it was on this side of the road, and it was about there, and he'd say, oh, yeah, that's so-and-so's herd. Yeah, it's okay. And I thought, oh, okay. Now I know what okay is. Well, because of Tyler and because I look at Angus when I drive down the road, and I still do, I saw some really good-looking ones on the way in today. Not as good as Tyler's, but they're still good-looking. I was going west. It was the fall of the year. I was somewhere around the Fulton-Gettysburg area, and I saw a herd of Angus. And I need to tell you, it was right after the first snowfall in the fall when it doesn't know if it's fall or winter yet, and it comes down in big, heavy, wet flakes, lands on the animals. And I see this herd, and I'm going, oh my. This is going to be a gorgeous, gorgeous herd. You can see it from afar. You literally can kind of tell, and you can kind of feel it. And as I got closer to them, I slowed down because I wanted to take a really good look, because I wanted to tell Tyler all the detail of what I had seen. And I swear they looked like they could have come to Lake Area, gone through the cosmetology department, been shampooed, blow-dried, curled, maybe had a facial. I don't know, their hooves didn't look like they had manicures, maybe it wasn't manicure day. These animals were truly, truly, truly show ready. They were even more beautiful than this group right here. And so because I'm going slow and looking at this herd and saying, can't wait to talk to Tyler about him, I noticed the next ones. And I couldn't get a picture that was quite as poor. These are a little bit caked. Take the cake on these. Take about 50 pounds off of them, take what's caked on their fur, double it, and you got the herd that was in the right across the fence line. And I think, gorgeous. Not so much. And I thought about that for miles and miles and miles and thought, it's not the pasture, it's not the ranch area. Has to be the rancher. It has to be the person that's caring for these animals. It has to be how much they care about what's going on here. And in my mind and in my heart, that's the beingness. That's the beingness of the person that goes out and looks at the herd. That's the beingness of a herd that looks like Tyler's. Not so much. Those are my two examples of beingness that I thought about that might be of interest to somebody. I want to go back to how do we do that? And how do we do that? There's a good story by Tolstoy. Sometimes I think we have to go back to the ancients to get the modern, to get the new age. The new age really is from the old age. And Leo Tolstoy wrote a story about a beggar sitting beside the road. And he had his hat out. And as he was sitting beside the road and had his hat out, he was asking people for coins in his hat. And people would come by and put some coins in his hat, and he could maybe have supper, he could maybe have something else, I don't know, whatever it was. And a stranger walked by and looked at the beggar and said, I have nothing to give you. And the beggar's like, And the stranger says, have you ever looked in that box that you're sitting on? And the beggar said, no, I haven't. The stranger said, Look in the box. So the beggar reluctantly gets up. The stranger helps him to pry open the box. And he finds that the box that he's been sitting on for 30-some years is full of gold coins. And the stranger says, "That's how you are. You are full of gold. Your gold is inside." I think back to the rancher in the herd. The gold was not in the range, it was not in the pasture, it was not probably in the feed, although the person with gold inside cared enough, that knew he had the gold inside, cared enough to go out and do the best for his herd. The gold is inside. The gold was inside my grandmother as she made the dishes for us. Wow, human beingness, being present with what we're doing. So how does that gold come into being? There's another story that I like. It's from an author. His name is Michael. And Michael talks about spring solstice. Michael lives in Colorado. He lives in the Denver Boulder area. And he talks about it being a beautiful summer solstice in Colorado. Time to go camping in the mountains. And so he loads up his camping equipment. He loads up his 2 frisky golden retrievers and heads up into the high country. And he drives up the switchbacks until he can no longer drive. He gets out and he hikes the last 100 yards or so to the very, very top. He's at the Continental Divide. Any of you who've been to the Continental Divide know how breathtaking it is. The pictures don't do it justice. They maybe suggest what the Continental Divide might be like. As he looked to the east, he saw the lights of Boulder and Denver twinkling in the distance. The sky beautiful. As he looked to the west, there are the mountain ranges, blue onto blue, receding into the distance as far as he could see. It's beautiful to be on top of the Continental Divide, to be camping, to be spending some time here. He went over to a glacier that hadn't quite thawed. He picked up some of the ice, put it in his camp cook, and swirled it around over the camp stove. And some of it fell out and fell on the edge of a piece of granite that was there on the base. And as it fell over the edge on the piece of granite, he thought to himself, I'm on the Continental Divide. Anything on the eastern side is going to go to the Atlantic. Anything on the west side is going to end up in the Pacific. And as he was thinking and being philosophical, he thought, that's how it is with our decisions. Our decisions made at the core of our being are either going to go in a doingness direction or a beingness direction, or if we can corral them and keep them here, maybe our beingness and our doingness can combine and really put that extra edge on everything that we do. I want to end with a couple of quotes. We all love quotes. This is Charlie. Charlie grew up as an orphan. He's one of the people we talk about when we study leadership, our social economics, because the money really does come from us, from the gold inside of us and what we decide to do with that gold that's inside of us in our doingness. It really does come from us. And Charlie was the first actor to get $1 million contract. And he did it in the 20s and 30s when $1 million really meant $1 million. He did it in the 20s and 30s when money wasn't quite as plentiful. And Charlie said, bless his heart, we think too much and feel too little. More than machinery, we need humanity. Let's put our beingness and our doingness together as often as we can. In this fast-paced society, it's not always easy. And this is Rumi, and Rumi goes way, way, way back. Rumi Rumi said, he was a Sufi poet. A lot of wise people preceded us on this planet. And Rumi said, you were born with potential. You were born with goodness and trust. You were born with ideals and dreams. You were born with greatness. You were born with wings. Yeah, wings. Wings to fly. You're not meant for crawling, so don't. Let's be like use the air that's in the top half of the glass, and let's spread our wings, and let's learn to use them and learn to fly, and we can be as excited as Greg was with his talk about aviation. Thank you. Thank you for being such an amazing group of people.